Okay, there we are, guys. We have some Tempests. They haven't been used much this tournament, but it's BricK squad. Let's trust they know what they're doing.
Soundwave loves spoilers. I'm Kill2. I'm with Angel Hun. We're looking at Havoc versus BricK squad. Havoc on your left in red have brought 3 Macarials, a Scimitar, 2 Daredevils, a Sentinel, and 3 Dramiels.
And from BricK squad, we have a Tempest Fleet issue, a regular Tempest, 3 Hurricanes, a Guardian, Claw, Dramiel, and Tyrannus. It's interesting. I believe this might be the first Claw that's been fielded. Generally, people and teams preferring the Stiletto. I'll have to check with ISD on that fact.
This looks really cool. Totally different setups in a way. Both Minmatar, both obviously going to have a lot of autocannons, a lot of damage, and a lot of speed, but Macarial's on the left, shield tanked, going to want to kind of abuse range and stay a little further from the fight most likely, whereas the BricK squad team, all armor tanked, they're going to be more comfortable taking damage, even though both teams can handle a fair bit. So we're underway now. Ranges were around normal, 40 or 50k. The Tempests came in at 0 on the beacon, and Havoc came at max range. And their Macarial's heading away from the fight, trying to establish that range right now.
All things being equal, and just judging purely by the setups, I believe that Havoc has a stronger setup at this point. Their E-War, especially from the Sentinels and the Daredevils, should be far more effective against the BricK squad setup, which is really, really light on E-Warfare. Probably looking just to be able to tank and gank, it seems. And we have 1 Hurricane down for BricK squad. I would be surprised if we were getting a lot of damage from those Tempests on anything other than the Macarials, as I just don't think they'll be able to track anything else.
Well, I don't know if that's necessarily the case. I'm looking at 1 Hurricane at least. It's not moving at all for whatever reason. Those Tempests real fast. The Fleet Pest came like barging in at 1,200 meters a second to get right on top, and it's running smart bombs, so taking a bunch of drones out. I don't know, though. I don't know if I like this. There's a BricK Dramiel going down right now, as well as the 2 other Frakes taking damage, and the second Hurricane for BricK squad taking a lot of damage as well. Seems like they're not really getting anything done on this Havoc tank. There's 1 Macarial piloted by Mistress Suffering, actually. It's at about half shields, but that's not really enough. Nothing significant right now. The Scimitar are able to pull back some of that. The Scimitar taking some damage now. Maybe that's a target call. Still smart bombs running on the Tempests, but 1 more Hurricane down for BricK squad.
It looks really bad for BricK squad at this point. It appears that the Macarials just seem to be picking their own targets. There doesn't seem to be much need for them to even concentrate their fire, as they're just able to overwhelm the tanks of BricK squad. It looks, however, that the Havoc Scimitar is about to go down. We're seeing a lot of damage incoming on it from the Tempest and the remaining Hurricane. It looks like at this point BricK squad will not be able to outlast the shield tanks and high damage plus range of the Havoc team. Certainly seem to be much stronger than the close range armor tanks of BricK squad.
Wow, another Hurricane down. Tempest already in half armor. That Scimitar did go down, not going to matter. In the words of Verone, BricK squad just getting obliterated, or whatever he says. Really not nearly as good of a setup. It looks like the Macarial's definitely making convincing kind of testament to their power compared to different arrangements of the Matar setup that's been popular.
I mean, Havoc just seems to be making mincemeat out of the BricK squad tanks. There's just no remote repping going on from the Guardian is able to compensate for this sheer just thunderstorm of damage coming out of Havoc. It's really quite impressive. Even with their Scimitar down, there's no chance for BricK squad at this point. Convincing victory for Havoc, an impressive setup from them, an interesting dichotomy between 2, on the surface, seemingly similar setups, at least with ships, but the Angel Cartel proves superior once again to the pure Minmatar.
I don't know if this Macarial setup is perfect, but I really like all the Frigg support. We had a conversation earlier as experts, as commentators, about kind of how viable battleships are, and we're talking about how often they're unsupported, and that's a problem. And I like this setup because having all these support ships does so much for you. I mean, it's a lot of damage for one, but that's not necessarily the most important thing in this fight. Supplying a lot of E-War, it also took out the tacklers for the other team, while the Macarials went to work on the more heavy Hurricanes, and that kind of stuff makes a really big difference. So I really like this composition, having all those Frigs using all 10 of your ship slots, but still having your battleships there, you know, in the form of a lot of damage and a lot of tank. And there goes that Guardian. So awesome job, Cry Havoc. They're headed to next weekend, and actually the BricK squad probably not. So we'll go back to Soundwave.
Thanks, guys. That was an excellent fight, and you're absolutely right. I think the cutoff last year, I think I said it was 30. That might be wrong. CCP Mindstar has told me that it was, in fact, around 10 points, which means that you don't have to destroy many ships, but still more than BricK squad did. So BricK squad could possibly be out of the tournament. One team that's not out of the tournament is Cry Havoc. Fantastic performance. Our next fight is at 1940 Eve. It is Dark Side versus Razor Alliance. We'll be back.